Right. From 1946 to 26th of December of 1991, the Earth was involved in a political and almost military conflict between two blocs, the Soviet Union and the USA, East and Occident. There were a lot of explanations pointing each other one to another like responsibles, but the ending just simply didn't determine the winner. Actually, proves that it was unnecessary, no matter how many explanations or theories are made. Years later, since December of 2019 to the actual days, mankind was involved in another type of conflict, not between nations, but against a microscopic agent that took away thousands of lives and spread quickly around the world. I just wouldn't consider that in one period there could be more fear or not. I mean, during the Cold War, it was kind of obvious the fact that you could die in a nuclear explosion, and the human race was all going with one button. However, in COVID-19 pandemic, as any other pandemic like H1N1, influenza, Spanish flu, etc., mankind feared a slow, painful, and deadly end. Even if COVID-19 was far way less dangerous than other viruses, the mutations could easily determine another kind of fate. Little but important things like playful media, mass hysteria, and paranoid people could lead to an aggressive feeling of fear for your life. The Cold War and the COVID-19 pandemic can be described as events that led to a massive panic, public outbursts, and probably a big work for the media to deliver the information to all masses of the earth. They are both, in fact, something comparable and even relatable between them. And I say, why not? Basically, we are human beings connected to our surroundings. That makes us vulnerable to all kinds of potential harm. Also, aware of the dangers that could put at risk our very style of living. And that is exactly what happened during the Cold War and also in the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll be talking about the biggest issue, right, on those times, death and panic. Death is something inevitable. We all fear death, and we may express ourselves in many different ways. But when it's all about our history, the threat of a nuclear war and the threat of a viral infection are both facts that will put us on alert. During the Cold War, events like the Cuban Missile Crisis of the 60s and the constant tension between superpowers, the USA and the Soviet Union, could lead a human to fear the sole meaning of extinction. Let's remember the mutual assured destruction. In the first case, you could die by being burned to the ground. In the other hand, a severe destruction of your lungs because of an inflammation. Let's begin with our first remnant attack during the Cold War and the COVID-19 pandemic, the media. Also, you can say that this was the first point, the first fact that could lead to uh, elevate all kind levels of fear. When we talk about media, we are referring to pretty determinant facts and things like news and advertisements, publicity in every single aspect of our life, and what changed to the new mainstream. During Cold War, as the writer Felix Brennan establishes, there were kind of a lot of public information about nearest community shelters, evacuation routes, and instructions to build house facilities that can even endure for a week. Plans like getting away from the blast radius and numbers estimating the kilometers away in which you should be in order to stay safe. The info was a matter of defense, because everything was linked to NATO and the US military intelligence. About advertisements, you could say that during the Cold War, everything was about dissing your opponent via shows or even military ads. The Soviet Union and the USA basically got a whole effort on trying to make each other see as the bad guys, criticizing lifestyles, economic situations, and political statements. This didn't change so much at the middle of COVID-19 pandemic. News were on a constant launch of information and updates on scientific research. However, the main information wasn't printed like those days. You could see ads of health departments sending instructions and a follow in case of suspicious symptoms for you or one member of your family. What numbers to call and how to isolate a patient if help arrives. In this case, it was everywhere. Internet, mail, or even TV, number of deaths, number of infected. Everything was basically a fact, a trigger for your fear. But fear is not something unique, it's common. It's a question to all types of disasters, and the answer is yes.